Welcome back, everybody, to more from the Stabilize. I'm here today with Jordan. How's it going, Jordan?
Pretty well.
That's good, and we're having a look at Henry Brandt's second place list from Sydney Regionals, and who better to help run us through it than Henry himself. How's it going, Henry?
Yeah, good, thanks, Mitch.
That's great. First of all, congratulations on your performance over the weekend. Second place finish is nothing to sneeze at, and especially playing such a good deck, mate.
Thank you. Congratulations to you too. I heard you played a good deck as well.
Oh, mate. We're both just sitting here smacking, you have a good deck. You have a good deck, you have a good deck. Alright, well, let's run through it. And whilst we're doing it, we might talk about some of the changes that Jordan and I made, because we both played the same thing as well. We played 57 cards the same. A couple of them, I think Jordan and I would like to keep, but one of yours we like as well. So let's just talk through it. First of all, 4-4 Zoroark line, pretty standard when you're playing Zoroark. You don't want to play any less than those, so we won't talk about it too much. But we'll start off with the Persian line. It's a 2-1 Persian line, which some people might think is a little strange. Run us through your thought process on that one, Henry.
Alright, so I tested it a lot. John and I have been testing this since the last day of Berlin, and we found that, well, I found in my testing that 1-1 Persian wasn't enough in the matchups that you needed it, but you didn't need it in every matchup. And so 2-1 felt like the best sort of compromise in order to get a bit more space into the deck.
Fair enough, because like Jordan and I obviously have been testing as well, and we've been testing lists that had 2-2, and we probably found the same thing, except the other way around, sitting there going, oh, we've got just too many Persians here. So probably 2-1 seems like a pretty fair call, especially when you're playing, obviously, Ditto Prism and stuff. It makes it really easy to get out. And down in the the trainer section here, we've got 2 rescue stretchers, so even if you have to get rid of it early, it's not too hard to get back.
Yeah, and especially because you never want to actually evolve into Persian until the turn you use it, because otherwise, if your opponent wants to take 2 prizes, they can do it on the Persian and deny your Catwalk. And if you use Catwalk the previous turn, you only need a single card, or if you don't need any, you can get the rescue stretcher for next turn. It's not as bad.
Yeah, beautiful. And Persian's an excellent attacker in its own right as well, so
Incredibly.
fantastic to deal with those big threats, things like Ultra Necrozma, which there was a couple running around, just get completely wrecked by Persian. Helps you attack in matchups where you're not super keen to be attacking with Zoroark, so a really good card. Only a 1-of, but 2 basics seems pretty good. We've got 2 other attackers in the list along with Zoroark as well. We've got a 1-1 Dugong line in your list for Dual Blizzard mainly, to put 60 damage on any 2 Pokemon you like. You ran with the 1-1. Jordan and I ran with the spicy 1-2 line, because we're wild boys.
Yeah.
Run us through this one.
So it was a very similar thing to Persian. This deck's basically a toolbox, so you have a different... It's not like Zoroark Lycanroc, where you have a pretty much standard game plan you execute every single game. This, you play the deck completely differently against every matchup. So Dugong, really good in some, useless in others. The 1-1 felt right again. I think if you were to increase it at all, you'd play the 1-2 like you guys did, just to avoid prizing the Dugong. But other than that, yeah, it's a bit too resource intensive to use it over and over.
Yeah, you're probably going to attack with a Dugong maybe twice in a game. Jordan and I played the 1-2 line because we were worried that the Zoroark mirror was going to be pretty big, and we felt like if you have the 2 Dugong, then you've got like the Ditto and the Seal as well. You're probably not going to prize both of them, and it really, like, it can just auto win the game. Like Henry in our top 8 game, the first game we played, the game was over on the second turn because I just attacked with Dual Blizzard and there was nothing that you could do. So it's just kind of the game is over. And it's a really good card for that reason. It's why we were happy to play the strange 1-2 line. But you obviously made the cut because you wanted to fit in a Slowpoke for your Slowking line. And I actually really like that.
Yeah, so again, there's another thing. Dugong didn't feel like it was enough against Thresher and Charizard. The only real time it did enough was if they played that poorly and like either bench 2 Reshiram and Charizard, or you played 2-2 and they didn't play Miltank. There was a lot of scenarios, and it just didn't quite do it. And you needed Slowking, but then at the same time, if you only played Ditto for Slowking and you went second, it didn't really do anything because they just Guzma and killed the Ditto. So I wanted to have a safer Reshiram and Charizard matchup, and so the Slowpoke plus Slowking made it really favourable unless they played EV Snorlax, and even if they did, it's still whoever goes first.
Yeah, and I think this is probably the change that I would make. I'd probably cut that second Dugong for the Slowpoke. I only played Reshizard once in the tournament from my point of view, and the game that I played, the person who was playing Reshiram Snorlax played Wobbuffet and just never managed to get it out. And if they did, then I just would have lost, because I would not been able to do anything about it. So Slowpoke, a big card. What do you reckon, Jordan?
Yeah, what I like about all these 1-1 lines in Henry's list is, especially with the double stretcher, it allows you to kind of reuse some of these toolbox techs that you don't want to use in every matchup, but you want to be able to use some of them twice. So with Ditto plus all these different 1-1 stage 1 lines, you can kind of use the stretches to give yourself outs to having a second copy of your 1-1 lines in a sense.
Yeah, it's really, really good, and it gives you that flexibility that you really need. A couple of other interesting cards. We've got the 1-1 Alolan Muck line. Cost me 2 prizes in top 8 because I wrote Grimer instead of Alolan Grimer because I'm an idiot. But in the end, it didn't matter. But the Alolan Muck line was another thing Jordan and I were tossing up. Do you include the Grimer, don't you? Why did you end up going with the 1-1 line there?
So what I found was that when I didn't play the Grimer, you don't really get the Muck out that much, especially not against Zapdos. And if you don't play the Grimer, you're forced to play Giratina so that you can actually take efficient prizes against Jirachi. But overall, the Grimer was better because you want to turn off Miltank against Reshiram Charizard, and also because you want to turn off Bench Barrier Mew in the matchups you want to use Dugong.
For sure.
Yeah, it's really weird how the matchups where you use Muck have kind of changed over time, where if you have a look at last format, you're pretty much always wanting to use Muck against all the Lightning builds like Pikarom and Zapdos. And while it's still true for Zapdos, you don't really want to use it against Pikarom as much anymore due to how important Bench Barrier Mew is. But instead now you probably want to get it out against Zoroark, which you would never even have considered doing previously. So I still think the 1-1 is very strong, even though the matchups it's useful in have changed.
Yeah, and talking about that Mew, we'll just chuck it up on the screen now for people that haven't seen it. This card saw like so much play on the weekend. Just so many decks that either are going to struggle with spread matchups or with Pigazek or with Zoroark Dugong. Mew just kind of stops all those things from working, and the really interesting thing about it is that it's not just good for its ability. I know that you used Psi Power, its attack multiple times. Henry, run us through that one.
Well, I think it's a great card. You 100% need it against Pikachu Zekrom. As Jordan was saying, the matchup has changed. You almost never use Muck against them unless they have a super weak start and you're able to Muck Judge. But in general, you're able to efficiently prize trade using the Mew to block Tag Bolt. And also, obviously, Psi Power is great. So not playing Giratina, you're able to actually use Psi Power instead. So in top 4, I use Psi Power for the final 3 prizes. There's a lot of other games where I use Psi Power. It's just a really generally versatile card.
Yeah, and with the Dugong, it means that you can Psi Power and put 10 on those pesky 70 HP basics like Jirachi or Let Loose Marshadow, and you can just finish them off later on, or you can do it the other way around and take them all with Psi Power. Very, very cool card that you need to be aware of, especially that attack that people just don't seem to be using. Another card that's kind of similar is Marshadow with Reset Hole. Obviously, you're playing it in the deck to get rid of stadiums for the most part, but Red Knuckles is also a super useful attack to take out things like Baby Buzzwole, which we're seeing a lot of play in Zapdos.
Yeah, so that was great. I used it a lot over the weekend to get rid of stadiums, namely to get rid of Shrine of Punishment against, say, Weezing or against Zapdos. There's an interesting thing you can do against Weezing with it, because you need to have a full bench to do 120. You can put the Marshadow on the bench, and then you do 120, it takes damage, and whenever they put the Shrine, you can get rid of it straight away and get rid of the damage onto the Marshadow.
Yeah.
But the attack is also very useful. Since there's no Devoured Field, you struggle to kill Megandadel, and the Baby Buzzwole and Red Knuckles gets over those.
Yes.
Yeah, and one of the things with the Marshadow, I know that we were talking about a little bit, Henry, was we were debating the split between do we play 2 copies of this Marshadow, or would we rather have, like, say, an extra copy of a Field Blower? So why did you choose to go with just the 1 copy of Marshadow in this list?
I think since you had double Rescue Stretcher, it's fine to just go with the single Marshadow, and I chose the 2 Blower, mainly for, it gives you a lot of versatility, like Wishful Baton against Quagsire, getting rid of just boards, extra outs to Shrine when you have Muck and when you have a full bench. So it's definitely better against they zap those beasts. And also spell tags against Wheezing. And the other big thing was weakness policy that we wanted to get rid of if any Reshiram and Charizard had.
Yeah, that could have been very, very pesky, especially since the Slowking would be doing essentially nothing if there's weakness policy around. Two more Pokemon left. We've got one Tapu Lele and one Dedenne GX. Now, Jordan and I tested 2 Dedenne, 2 Tapu Lele, 1-1. Why did you end up going with just the 1-1 split on these guys?
So, obviously, if you could have more of each, it'd be great, but there's only so much space in a deck. The Tapu Lele is used for turn 1 in order to get the Lily, so that you're able to, draw into the F8 and set up. But the Dedenne is what makes this deck work and makes Zoroark work at the moment. So a turn 2 Dedenne lets you pretty much fully set up your board almost every single game. So outside of fully bricking or outside of getting minimal basics turn 1, you set up almost perfectly turn 2 most games.
And you avoid the problem, I guess, that I know Jordan's definitely had in the past where you just never hit Zoroark. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, Jordan, but sometimes
it can certainly happen.
Sometimes you just don't get them. And hey, if you don't get that, then sometimes that's just it. But hey, it could be worse. 22 Pokemon in this list. It's probably the highest count that I've seen in a list for a long, long time. But hey, they're all good and they all serve their purpose.
It's interesting that you say that because 22 is actually the lowest I would go when you're playing Persian GX.
Yeah, well, it's one of those. It's an interesting one. Jordan and I don't know about you and Jordan in your testing, but I was playing lists with 26 Pokemon in one stage.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, because there's so many techs that you don't even consider. You could put Mewtwo in it. You can just play all sorts of crazy cards. And extra copies of all of this stuff. I know, Jordan, we played a Let Loose Marshadow in our list as well. So we were playing 23. So it's a wild Pokemon count. Something that's a little bit easier to run through is the trainers and supporters. 4 Lily to start off with. Easy. Yep. Want to make sure they play that every opportunity you get. We've got 1 Professor Kukui to get that extra 20 damage when you need it. You might think, it's good to get the 130 on Buzzwole or whatever, but it's actually really, really good with Persian maths, Henry, when you can hit things like Pigazek for a knockout when you've got 9 Pokemon in the discard. Yeah, so there's a couple of different scenarios that it came up in. Kukui plus Slashback GX is incredibly good against Zoroark Lycanroc. Not that that's so much played, but that is relevant. It also is good against Ultra Necrozma. Similar things. Also, just when you struggle to get the extra Pokemon in the discard. And there's also a unique thing you can do where if your opponent has a 70 or 80 HP Pokemon in the active, you can use Dual Blizzard with a Kukui to KO it and then put 60 on something else. Yeah, it was a really, really versatile card, and drawing the 2 extras is just a bonus. We've got 1 copy of Judge here. Pretty reasonable understanding as to why that's there. You want to be able to disrupt your opponent in some way. You can't just let them sit there with a big hand. And
a second copy would be good, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably the reason why, Jordan, we decided to end up going with the Judge and the Let Loose, just so that we could guarantee that we had something to shuffle away those massive hands, because Reshizard can have big hands, Zoroark can have big hands, everything's just got so many resources right now. It's really important to have that extra, that shuffle to get rid of your opponent's hand.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting because I think one of the cards that kind of moved around the most in a lot of our lists was that second Judge or the Marshadow. We even had cards like Tate and Liza or Cynthia in there at some point. So
yeah,
there's definitely a lot of options in there. Do you think that just the 1 Judge is enough, or would you consider playing more in the future, Henry?
I think I'd love to play an extra Judge. I still don't think I would play Let Loose. I do like it and it's nice as an extra Pokemon, but I feel like the second Judge has more mileage. But at the same time, it worked. There are cards that I'd rather have over the second Judge. So.
Yeah, for sure. Going back for the rest of our supporters, we got 1 copy of Acerola. Since Zoroark is reasonably beefy at 210, it's not normally going to get 1 shot. So you can Acerola those bad boys up. And the interesting one, the one that differed in our lists, you got 2 copies of Guzma. We ran 3. Why did you choose 2, Henry?
Well, going back to what I was saying about the deck being a toolbox, in a lot of matchups you don't need more than 2 Guzma, and especially with the Power Pad. But I think, looking back and after playing the whole tournament, I would definitely want 3. For me, the night before, the final card for me was either third Choice Band or third Guzma, and I chose the Choice Band. I feel that I wouldn't go below 3 Choice Band, but now I also feel like I wouldn't go below 3 Guzma, so...
It's interesting because Jordan and I had the exact same conversation, and we just ended up going the other way. We were like, I think we need the 3 Guzma. We had to cut the Choice Band, so...
Yeah. Even after the tournament, I still don't know which one is correct, besides saying it probably just needs to play both. And I mean, I think the space is just going to have to come from somewhere, otherwise it's just going to be every tournament, which one do you feel like playing?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a difficult choice. Some of the other cards that we've included in the deck, or you've included in your deck, sorry, this isn't mine and Jordan's, I keep forgetting.
It's close enough.
I've been practicing so much, it just looks exactly the same. We've got 2 Field Ball, which we've talked about already. We've got 4 Nest Ball, 4 Pokecom, and 4 Ultra Ball, so lots of Pokemon search. I know I personally started off playing the list with a lot less ball search. Why do you think it's important to play that heavy ball search? Obvious answers, obviously.
Well, obviously, consistency is always great. Now with the Dene GX, you actually don't need to play the Cynthia, because even if you can't... Because previously you'd want to turn to Lele for a supporter most of the time, and you might have to do it for a Lily, and it might only be for 3 cards. But now that you got the Dene, you're fine. And in Berlin, when we played Zoroark Lycanroc, we chose to play Cynthia over the 4th com, but now that's fine. And also because you have so many tech Pokemon that you don't use in a lot of matchups, the communication has a lot more value. So.
Yeah. Jordan, do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because I know you scolded me quite loudly for wanting to cut a Pokemon at one point.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, like, considering how many Pokemon there are in this specific list, I think at the time when you only were playing 3 Pokemon, we had either 23 or 24 Pokemon on the list, and one of the conversations I actually had with you, Henry, is if the Pokemon line ever goes below 22, then you could consider cutting one, but as soon as it gets to 22 or above, the card's just so powerful that it's hard to see yourself playing less than 4.
Yeah, and the only reason we ever played less than 4 in Zoroark Lycanroc is because you actually wanted the Pokemon in your hand, but now with so many... not useless, but Pokemon you won't use, it becomes a really good card.
Yeah, because in matchups like against Reshiram Charizard, you're not gonna need Mew, you're not gonna need like your Muck potentially. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can just chuck away to get the things that you do need at the time. So those 3-4 of counts seem pretty good. Sorry, Jordan, I stepped on you there.
I was just gonna say there was a couple other Pokemon search cards that we've been discussing over the last few weeks. Obviously, Henry ends up including one that we'll talk about a bit later with Brooklet Hill, but another one that where we were kind of looking over a bit was Great Ball. And do you think that that's ever a card you would consider putting back in the deck?
Yeah, I was testing the Great Ball over the 4th communication, and I liked it a lot, but then as soon as I put into Dene, I preferred the communication. I think if you have so much extra space in a Zoroark deck, playing a Great Ball or 2 extra makes nice consistency, but I didn't find I needed it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Fair enough. Now, Jordan mentioned it before, you play a 1 stadium in this deck, and that's 1 copy of Brooklet Hill. With only 2 water basics, is it worth playing that copy of Brooklet Hill?
Well, the Brooklet Hill isn't so much for the fact that it's Brooklet Hill, but for the fact that it's a stadium. So, it was Brooklet Hill or Devoured Field, and the point of that was so that you could bump not only just regular stadiums, but Prism stadiums, especially when you have a full bench or muck. And as Jordan and I were saying, we never want Heat Factor to stick, because if that's sticking, you're losing. And same with Thunder Mountain, those single Prism stadiums are so incredibly powerful that you can't let them stay on the field.
Yeah.
Now, as for... Sorry.
No, it's alright, keep going.
As for Brooklet Hill versus Devoured Field, Brooklet Hill serves as an extra Nest Ball early, but is a dead card later on, whereas Devoured Field is a much better card later on, but if you draw it early, it's completely dead. Now, because of the fact that I wanted to use it as a bump for Prism Stadiums, it seemed better to have a card that's better early and dead late, because you can still use it to bump set Prisms later.
Yeah, so it's still got that use when the Prism comes down, and if the Prism comes down early, then you've got the bonus of it as well on top. So it also means that you don't necessarily need to stress over, oh, hey, which of the 6 Pokemon that I need to get off of this Pokecom am I going to get? Because you know that you can at least get one of the Slowpoke or Seal down. Normally going to be the Seal because Dugong's probably more useful in more matchups, but it means that you don't have to stress so hard about what those ball search cards are going to be for.
And one of the things that I really like about the Brooklet is obviously against Prism Stadiums, the only options to get rid of it is either Brooklet or Marshadow. But against, say, for example, Reshizard, where you've decided to get Muck out, or you just simply don't have bench space at the time that they put it down, it just gives you an out of being able to remove Prism Stadiums when Marshadow just simply isn't an option.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the cards that we decided to cut Jordan in favour of the Let Loose Marshadow. We were kind of more, hey, we're either going to get reset, hold down, or we're not. So let's just go for that and hope for the best.
And it's important to note that in my build at the moment, I've actually cut the Brooklet Hill for the third Guzma. I don't like it, but I think you need the third Guzma. So until I find something else, that's what I've got.
Yeah, fair enough, and that seems reasonable as well. Now, we've talked about the 3 choice band already, so we won't talk about that in too much more detail. One last section of cards. We've got the energy. We've got 4 copies of DCE and 4 copies of triple acceleration energy. I know Jordan is interested to find out, Henry, how many times did you have 3 energy in your opening hand? Because it happens to us all the time.
So many.
I know, I don't understand.
It never used to happen with Zoroark Lycanroc. What is going on? Why do I have so much energy?
One of the reasons that it happens more in this is because you can't actually play the triple acceleration down on turn 1. And in Zoroark Lycanroc, you never actually needed more than the 2 fighting energy in a game. You just played 4 to draw them, and so you were fine to discard them. But now that you have triple colorless, it can get a bit more awkward.
Yeah, and those cards are so dead so frequently. It's like the amount of times I would have to put down a DCE on a Zoroark on the bench that I knew was probably just going to get knocked out in order to draw the extra card from Lily. I cannot imagine doing it in any other deck. But hey, I don't think you'd never consider playing less than the 8 copies of the energy because they're obviously required. But good God, it's frustrating.
I consider third DCE. It's like only 3 DCE potentially, but I think that's ultimately bad.
Yeah, fair enough. Jordan, any other comments you want to make? Any questions you want to ask before we start talking about matchups?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it for the most part.
Beautiful, fantastic. All right, well, Henry, you obviously played in a big tournament on the weekend. Let's run through the rounds that you played in. I'm not sure if you know them off the top of your head, but
I've been playing Pokemon for a while, Mitch. I remember what I played against exactly.
Sounds well. Then run through it. Let's go 8 rounds and then top 8. Let's do it.
Sure. So first round I played against Colin Tang, who's another good player. Played against him twice before in regionals. Always in Top Cut, but now we played in round 1. So he was playing Zapdos Beasts. Game 1 I win pretty convincingly. Game 2, I think I bricked and lost. And then in the third game, I was forced to discard a bunch of energy early, and even though I got mucked down, he kept drawing the supporters, and eventually he drew into Guzmas, and so he would bring up my muck, and I wasn't actually able to retreat it, especially at the end. But then, luckily for me, time was called, and we ended up tying, whereas I would have definitely lost because I would have decked out with my muck.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting, because if you have a look at this listing compared to some of the previous Zoroark builds that we've played, where obviously this list only has 2 Guzma, but there's also no Rainbow Energy to activate Ace Roller, so it seems like the muck getting stored active is a little bit more of a risk now than it used to be.
Yeah, I think it just takes a bit more finesse to play around it. That's ultimately what I end up doing a bit better later on.
Fair enough,
nice.
No worries. So, tie round 1, not the best start, but it's not horrible. Talk us through round 2.
Yeah, so round 2, I played against Quagsire and Ganondorf. It's pretty easy. I think he only played three Wooper because that's all he had. So that made it a lot easier. And then also in game 2, he went to Towering Splash with 8 energy. It wouldn't have made a difference, but he does that. And I put a 10 damage counter on my active, and he said, it does 100 with the bench. And I said, there's a Mew on my bench.
Oh, no.
And he, poor guy, it wouldn't have made a difference, but yeah.
It's just
I'm
just gonna scoop these up and go. That's embarrassing. Oh no.
Yeah. So round 2 a win. Round 3 I played against Adavan, playing Quagsire and Ganondorf. So another good player. Unfortunately, game 1 I completely bricked, scooped within maybe 4 minutes.
Oof.
Next game, didn't draw very much with the lot, and I actually went to say to him, "Oh, I'll scoop and go to game 2," and he stops me. He's like, "This is game 2," because that's how quick game 1 went. I'm like, "Oh my goodness!"
You can't scoop now, Henry. You've got to keep playing.
So he stopped me, but it was nice of him. But yeah, so that was a loss. Bit rough. Started 1-on-1. Wasn't too confident about that. But
Yeah, no, that seems like a less than positive situation. But hey, let's keep going. Round 4.
yeah, so I was in position. I had to win out now. So round 4, I played against Zapdos Beasts. Pretty comfortable matchup. Usually,
Yep.
just got Muck out. Is what it is. Not too bad. Nothing much to say about that.
Yep, fair enough. Just
Yep.
play down the muck and take knockouts. Let's go.
Yep. Round 5, I played against Malamar Ultra Necrozma. Yeah, I think he was a newer player. He used to play Yu-Gi-Oh, I think. But anyway, I had a pretty weak start, but so did he, which I think neither of us attacked until maybe 3rd turn. I eventually managed to edge it out just by KOing his Ultra Necrozma with Persian over and over.
Yep.
Got that. Game 2 went much the same.
Beautiful.
So,
Did you use Dugong at all to take out the little inkies on the bench?
Well, I did go first. There was a position where it just would have won me the game, and unfortunately, I did not draw into it.
No.
So it was not drawing very well, but we got there eventually. He put 5 energy, I think, in play, so 3 on a Giratina and 2 on a Tapu Koko, so he didn't have any of the discards actually attack with Ultra Necrozma.
Fair enough. Yep. So
So,
you just kind of control that matchup from there.
Yeah. So then round 6, I played against another Ultra Necrozma.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I won the coin flip.
He found both of them. I don't understand how it happened.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. So I won the coin flip, and then they announced that there was going to be a repairing, and I was like, no way, I'm playing this Ultra Necrozma, I won the coin flip, but no repairing for me, it was all good.
Oh,
I went first, I got Dugong, I killed the Zinkays, quick game 1. Game 2, he goes first, he gets 3 NK turn 1, and then he got triple Malamar turn 2, but I used Rand on his Jirachi, so it had 20 damage. And then next turn, he puts down his Mew to try and block bench damage from Dugong, even though it evolved all into Malamar. And so on my turn 2, I went Muck, Dugong, KO the Mew and the Jirachi, which put me a prize ahead in the prize race, and then I KO'd the Ultra Necrozma twice with Persian. So.
Beautiful. That sounds like a beautiful matchup. And then I think are we up to the last round yet? Or
We're up to round 7 now.
Round 7. Oh, good God!
Yeah.
I've just been so amazed by your brilliant play against Ultra Necrozma. I forgot the 7th round.
Well, round 7 I played against Ellis Longhurst. So
this is going to be an interesting one.
Good friend, I think, of all of us. She was playing Vikavolt, so attacking Vikavolt, the new one. So she was playing Green Search within Pokegear. Now, she went first. Sort of a spooky matchup sometimes, but see how we go. She goes first, Lily's to 8. My turn. Now, I opened Lele, so I couldn't Lele for Lily, but I had 3 basics and Judge in hand. So I just went Judge turn 1, she's playing Vikavolt, could very well brick. And the next 3 turns from her were just like pass, pass, pass.
Oh no.
So, yeah, and then game 2 went exactly the same. She just passes for a long time, and then I win. She never got a Vikavolt either game. So.
That's so average, and I know Ellis was working really hard on that list and did really well in both the main tournament and the cup on day 2. So
yeah, she managed to get top 32. So
not a bad list at all. And then you came up and sat next to me on the top tables, Henry. I was surprised that I was there. So what the hell are you doing here? Says
well,
Henry.
so was I. I had to win every single game. I did not say that.
That's all right.
I think I said fancy seeing you here.
You probably
anyway.
did. Or maybe it was just me being like, God, the air's so thin up here on the top tables. I've never. Oh my God, it's so good.
Potentially.
Anyway,
So round 8.
Round 8.
This was actually pretty disappointing. So I played against one of my best friends, Jack Phone, and he was playing Weezing.
Oh no.
And Jack's a relatively new player. I think this has been playing for about a year, but he's actually really good, I think. So, we test all the time. I try and teach him as best as I can. And he was playing Weezing, a deck that I couldn't commit to playing simply because it just didn't feel good to me. But great meta call. But unfortunately, we played each other, so one of us had to make top 8, one of us couldn't.
You just had to beat him down.
Yeah, so game 1, it's a pretty good matchup for me because I played 2 Field Blower, a Stadium, reset whole Marshadow, the Mew, and 2 Stretcher. So basically, I just never let it pop Spell Tag. I tried to never let Shrine stick, and then an interesting scenario did happen though. I needed to hit Energy and Field Blower to win the game, otherwise I would lose. Now, I had 6 cards left in deck and a Dedenne in hand, so I could play it and draw my entire deck, but then I would deck next turn. So what I did was I played Pokemon Communication to put a Pokemon from my hand into the deck, and then I used Dead Change, and the last card was not the Energy or the Field Blower, so I won.
Yeah, that's fortunate. That could have very easily gone wrong.
Yeah, and then game 2, he just bricked and I won.
Beautiful. So what was your record in the end then? It was 6-1.
So 6-1-1. So we started 1-1-1 and we finished off with 6-1-1. Something that I've managed to do at pretty much every event. I don't think I've ever had a strong start, but
Never able to ID into Top Cut.
nope.
It's alright. It's
alright.
Who cares whether you're ID in the last round or not? Just win them all. Just keep going.
Exactly.
So then we come to Sunday. And we probably have. Well, I know this was the matchup that Jordan and I were talking about as being the one to decide who was going to win the tournament. Because the bracket in top 8 was you and I, Henry, in a Zoroark mirror. Then there was 2 Zapdos mirrors and a Reshizard versus Pikarom. And obviously, you and I both know that Zapdos Jirachi is a pretty good matchup. And you just have to hope you don't brick. So
Sure is,
we were both sitting there going, well, whoever wins this one probably ends up going all the way.
Yeah, so obviously I was not thrilled by having to play you in top 8.
Neither was
Both
I, mate.
'cause-
Neither was I. I was like, oh my
Both
god.
'cause, the matchup's so 50-50 and pretty much coin flip. But, is what it is. At least we had the confidence that one of us is going to do really well.
That's
Hopefully
true.
win, but
Oh, that's alright.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a minute. So essentially, top 8. We're sitting down across from each other. You walk it through, mate. You're the person in the video.
So I sit down against Mitch. Terror sets in, having to play against Mr. Mitch.
Yep. It's terrifying. for
He's
me
got
as
an
well.
extra Guzma and a Let Loose. I have 3 banned, but I think that makes it probably, if we're going to actual specifics, maybe 51% in his favour. But then again, it's coin flip. So
Yeah.
Judge comes over, says the Mitch gets a double prize penalty for only writing Grimer.
Yeah, because I'm an idiot. Oh my god.
But then he wins the coin flip.
Yes, because I'm the greatest player in the world.
Yep.
I actually
So-
wonder who's favoured in that position. Is it the player who's taken the first 2 prizes, or is it the player who goes
Yeah,
first?
well, I was-
I think it makes it even.
I
but
was
yeah.
absolutely terrified because I was like, oh my god, the only thing I had to do was win the coin flip and I've thrown it. Like,
Yeah, well,
Oh, dear.
we both had really bad starts that game, but unfortunately I bricked a bit more than Mitch and he was going first, so Mitch won that one.
Mhm.
Game 2, I went first, Jugong, I took the game.
Yep.
Game 3 was a really close game. Now, I just full-on bricked early, I'm sure Mitch can
Yeah,
attest to that.
100%.
It was unreal, I just had nothing, I'm like, here we go, that's alright, at least Mitch is gonna keep going.
Yep.
But then Mitch was able to dual Blizzard a bunch, but he didn't have any Zoroarks or any board, so he's like, Henry's not drawing great, I'll play Judge to help set up my board. Now, Mitch judged me out of the most dead hand you've ever seen into, I think, basic double nest ball Lily. So,
It was the worst decision I've ever made in Pokemon. Because
Yeah.
my hand was just as bad, but my board state was so much better. All I had to do was just top deck a card and I probably would have been fine. But I'm like, I feel like I'm so far in front, I can probably afford to do this. And what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, the worst thing that can happen is Henry sets up his entire board the next turn.
yeah, so what happened was Mitch didn't have another triple colorless, so there was a 60 damage on the active Meowth, and so he tail whaps it with the DCE. So he KOs, but I still have a Zoro on board. So I get my basics, I Lily, I get Zoroark, then I KO the Dugong. We start going back and forth a bit. He places damage on my Zoroark. I do something, not fully sure. I'm on 4. Mitch is on 4 as well. And then he goes Guzma, Choice Band, Slashback to KO my Dedenne.
Yeah, it's important to remember at this point as well that you only had 2 Pokemon in the discard when I
So I
knocked
had 1, and then I had the Dedenne. So
Yeah, it was like I was like, there's no
Yeah.
way. There is absolutely no way Henry can knock me out with a Persian here, even if
Yeah,
he gets the
so-
most bonkers hand.
So I had, I think, a damaged Zoroark on the bench. Mitch only had 1 Persian. So even next turn, Mitch would have to miss Guzma in order for me to win. Now, I was like, how do I do this? So I trade a Pokemon, we're up to 4 in the discard. And then I Ultra Ball 2 Pokemon, and I get a Pokemon to my hand. And then I'm up to 6 in the discard. And so then I Catwalk for an Ultra Ball and a Choice Band, and then I use that Ultra Ball to discard 2 more Pokemon. And then I get something else, and then I Guzma, Choice Band, Triple Colorless, Vengeance, One Hit is Persian.
No!
So
what
it was
the hell is going
unreal.
on?
It was unreal. I'm like, surely, well, Mitch won't miss Guzma. It's game over. He just Palpata one back in, and then Mitch misses Guzma,
What's the
and so I can Ace roll on my Zoroark. There's no longer one with damage. Now we both made a misplay there. What I should have done was attach the DC to the other Zoroark to prevent Mitch's win condition, which was Mitch Guzmaing my Zoroark and hitting it with his Zoroark, and I have no way to retreat it, no Guzma. Done. But we both missed the optimal play, so I managed to win.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there going, Henry's only got like 2 energy left and only one of them's a triple colorless. The only way he can win is if he gets the triple colorless next turn. So I'm looking at the judge in my hand and I'm like, oh, I guess I'll play it. I got like a 50-50 chance of winning. I'll just do it. And I play it, and I'm sitting there, and I do my first trade after the judge, and I hear Henry go, yep, and I'm like, oh, he just got it in his hand. He's got it in his hand.
I think I had 2 left, but yeah, still.
But yeah, no, it was a wild game. And at the time, I was like, hey, that's perfectly fine, because Henry should go on and win, because the person we're playing against next has Zapdos Jirachi, and logically, in the final, Zapdos Jirachi as well. So that seems like a couple of good matchups.
Yeah, so we're moving on to top 4. I play against Andrew Tan, good player. Zapdos base, he fully bricks game 1 and loses. Game 2, it's just how the matchup goes. I managed to... He had to attach a Rainbow to a Blitzle to retreat and attack, and so I Dual Blizzard, KO the Blitzle, put 60 onto a Jirachi. Next turn, Dual Blizzard, 60 onto a Jirachi, 60 onto Marshadow, and then Psy Power for 3 prizes for game.
Beautiful. That was funny. I was talking to him after the game, and I was just like, Andrew was just like, I have no idea how you would even think about going about winning that matchup with Zapdos. It's just like Zoroark could just win in so many ways, and I was like, well, Henry's playing Aaron Vanderkolk in the final. Aaron's got he's got Buzzwole Pheromosa, which is going to be a pain. He's playing Zapdos Jirachi. What's the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah, so at this point I was getting there. I lost the coin flip, but I managed to win game 1, so that was good. Thinking, alright, I've nearly got my back-to-back regionals win. And what's important about this is that the only person in Australia to ever win 2 Australian regionals in one season is Mr. Jordan Palmer right here.
Yep.
So I was coming close to breaking this. Coming close to ruining Jordan's only thing, but no. So game 2, I prized both Ditto and Grimer, which is not good in this matchup, and I'm still going. It should be fine. I take a good lead early, and the only way for him to come back into the game is if he hits Beast Energy onto his Buzzwole with about 30 cards in deck, I think. And
it's turn 1, so it's not super likely, hey?
Yeah, so... it wasn't turn 1, it was about, I think, turn 3 or 4, I want to say.
Oh, was that late, was it?
It was still not very good, yeah. So he plays Let Loose, he gets Lily, I think he Lilies for 3 or 4. And he gets the Beast Energy off the last card and hits it down. I still can win, but then I end up missing a few things for a while. And there was one way I won if I Rescue Stretched, I think, 3 Pokemon back, and I had 4 cards in deck, and I needed to draw the seal. Didn't draw the seal.
Oh.
Just lots of, lots of bad variance there.
Lots of little things that could have gone your way but didn't. But hey, that's alright. You won the first game, just win game 3, right?
Exactly. I'm like, no worries, I'm going first. I won't prize Ditto and Grimer this game. So he flips over Buzzwole Pheromosa, and I'm like, that's pretty good for me. That's alright. I don't mind this.
That seems good.
Anyway, I have a good setup, all good. He has Beast Energy in hand.
Again,
so
as unlikely as it is,
great.
Here he has it.
In the opening hand with Buzzwole Pheromosa, so that was really bad. So he Beast Games turn 1, and then turn 2, I'm like, this is fine, even with the Beast Game. I hit his Buzzwole Pheromosa. I can hit his Buzzwole Pheromosa and then 2 hit it. That's no worries. I Dead-Eye Change, and I draw, I think, as we were talking about energy earlier, I draw about 3 Nest Ball and 3 energy off the Dead-Eye Change.
I saw it happen with my own eyes.
Yeah, and I'm like, at this point, I'm like, yep. And so
Okay.
the game ends in about 2 turns later. So
Oh no. But hey, it's just one of those things.
just one of those things.
I know talking to Aaron about it yesterday in yesterday's video, we were chatting either before or afterwards, and he was saying like, yeah, there was like no way that I should have won that game. It just everything just worked out perfectly. And,
yeah. And hey,
couldn't
like
happen.
absolutely not knocking him. He played well. You know, if you're gonna win a tournament, that's how you got to do it.
Yeah,
You gotta
100%.
draw hot, so-
You gotta be lucky, and even if you're lucky, you still gotta play well. So, but
Yep.
hey, second's nothing to sneeze at. You get a
Not at all.
hefty little pay packet and a couple of points to go towards your day 2 invite. So
Yeah,
can't complain about that. Seems like a pretty good situation to be in.
for sure.
Just before we let you go, obviously the list's been sitting up motionless on the screen for about 20 minutes. Is there anything that you would change if you were playing in the same tournament again? Like if you knew what the meta was going to be like, what kind of things would you have perhaps changed up?
Well, I think that we actually predicted the meta perfectly. I didn't commit to playing this until the night before, but I'm pretty confident it's the absolute best deck in format for the meta we had in Sydney. I think it is incredibly strong, that has too many answers to pretty much everything, given that no one plays stall in Australia. Now, what I would change, I'd want the 3rd Guzma. Yeah, probably just the Brooklyn Hill I'd cut, but then again, that's also useful, so it's a bit tough to find.
A tight decision.
And you mentioned Stall obviously didn't show up too much in this specific tournament, but going forward, where it looks like Stall is starting to get a little more popular, do you think that there's any easy ways to kind of swing that matchup? Anything you would consider doing to try and salvage that matchup a little bit?
Well, you and I were talking about playing the baby make and pay Persian to discard resources from their hand, but I don't think that would be quite enough because you have no way to switch. I think the best way you would have to win it is to play an Oranguru and a Titanizer, and that would probably be your best way to have a chance. Maybe you need the Persian as well. I'm not entirely sure.
Maybe a basic energy as well wouldn't hurt.
I think, yeah, if you played a basic water or a basic rainbow in addition to Oranguru and Titanizer, you would win that matchup super easily because you would use Slowking's first attack, Memory Melt, and you would actually Lost Zone their father.
Beautiful.
So once you've done that, you win really comfortably.
Now, that sounds like a pretty good way to go about it, but hopefully in Australia we don't see any stall, because it's well documented and on record that I absolutely hate stall, like with a passion.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So I don't want to have to deal with that. But hey, thanks very much, Henry, for coming along and having a run through the list and telling us about your experience. Congratulations again on coming second.
Thank you very much, and thank you for you guys for building the deck with me and having good results, so congratulations to you too.
Thanks very much. And thank you, Jordan, for coming along and being expert comments again. You were a little bit quiet early, but I think you came in late with some good questions. Well done.
Happy to help.
Thanks very much. Thanks, guys, for watching. If you enjoy the content, then hit the subscribe button, the little sable line in the middle of the screen right now. On the left-hand side, you'll see a video that YouTube thinks you might like, and on the right, you'll see our Unbroken Bonds playlist. Thanks very much for coming along, and we'll see you all next time for more from the Sable Eyes. Bye.